can go when you're ready.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well. As I have you a moment with you, I want to ask you all to think about the biggest decision you've ever made in your life. Also, I want you to think about the biggest choice you could ever see yourself having to make in your life. Taking things one step further, what type of things would you want or need to know to make these decisions? This is the crux of transformative choice, and I'm here to inform you today about transformative experiences, personally, epistemically, and those that are collectively transformative. So what exactly constitutes a transformative decision? There are conflicting arguments here. Some people identify major decisions or decisions we otherwise know will be transformative, like L.A. Paul, UNC professor of philosophy and published author. Others, like top of her class, Kantia Schwab of Randolph, acknowledge the practicalities that step outside of reality's parameters and acknowledge a definition that encompasses much more. Anything we gain knowledge from then must be transformative. So how do we navigate our decisions? L.A. Paul accepted the national rational standard that says each of us are rational and authentic agents. This brings out another less familiar fact about the relationship between knowledge and experience. Just as what can be known by one person can be inaccessible to another person, what you can know about yourself can be inaccessible to yourself at another time. For instance, before Randolph, I'm sure you all tried to work your imagination in contextualizing what your experience may be like in college. Though, whether you came from a first-generation family or the complete opposite, you would not be able to understand your experience until you had it. The decision of going to college is coming harder to be analyzed on this scale, however, because this decision is seemingly made for us often in times. Though still beneficial for an example for reflective purposes. So quickly define rationality as we want to utilize it in making decisions. When we make rationally justified choices, we consider all possible outcomes and weighing the virtues and which will benefit us most. And it is important to understand authenticity as it correlates to rationality. Authenticity is more introspective. Assuming that we can take control of our own destinies, we chart out our future by modeling our choices to preserve this. However, you can't evaluate different possible outcomes because you can't know what's relevant before you have experiences. And this exploits the philosophical barrier between individuals and their control over their subjective futures. Experiences that are personally transformative change who you are, your point of view. A car crash, a major surgery, a horrific physical attack. Imagine the nature of becoming a feminist or experiencing a religious conversion. To yourself, a religious conversion could be an extension of yourself, much like becoming the person you always saw yourself being. Though to your peers or family, you could be perceived as a completely different person. Ordinary circumstances can place us in these similar predicaments because every situation does not have to be this drastic to be transformative. Subjective value, knowledge, and preferences are limited to an individual's past experiences. We're now talking about the intellectual intrinsic virtue of experiences, which brings us to epistemically transformative experiences. Digesting epistemically transformative experiences, I assure you, is easier than saying. Is there anybody here who has never had a grapefruit? There is something then that you cannot know. That is what it is like to experience tasting a grapefruit. Your peers may tell you what it is like to taste a grapefruit. You may have had an orange and know that oranges and grapefruits are essential representatives of the citrus fruit family. Though you cannot add any preference to this experience, because without having it, you would not know if it would be your favorite fruit in the world, something that you find disgusting, or something that you're indifferent and whole about. We learn from our first-person experiences. And so to recap, transformative experiences teaches you something that you couldn't have otherwise known. And in a certain sense, you are faced with the unknowability when facing a transformative experience. And so collectively transformative, therefore, introduces a conundrum that feels inescapable. For instance, if I ask you all to imagine yourselves as parents, I'm sure you could imagine the responsibilities that accompany caring for a child, though you cannot as easily encompass the entirety of what it means to be a parent, just as you cannot close your eyes and understand what it means to be blind. Paternal instincts, falling in love, learning to trust someone, these feelings can all be had, but cannot be testified to another person, for they come across differently in all people. And to leave you with why I believe this is significant. I believe every experience, encounter, and each and every day is a learning experience. I know that people without a sense of their own rationale allow the world to define more of who they become. It is important to evaluate all you know relative to making a decision, and it is equally so in understanding that there will always be a hitch that could not have been calculated. The goal is to not let what you don't know immobilize you in finding the person you want to be. As my father always said, none can be wise but by experience.
Thank you.